everybody. I have a script here, but somehow I feel compelled to talk about Texas. That was marvelous, Mrs. Secretary. I'm actually here on the happiest task of the whole conference. I'm honored to be here today to introduce Juliana Eades, the distinguished CDFI leader and founding president of the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, as the 2012 recipient of the Ned Gramlich Award for Responsible Finance. Julie is only the 5th person to receive this high honor, and it couldn't be more well-deserved. The annual award, named for a powerful advocate for CDFIs, recognizes a person who has devoted his or her career to advancing the CDFI movement's core values of social, political, and economic justice. As Mark Pinsky explained it, the Gramlich Award recipient should reflect the best of who and what we are. Julie fills the bill on all counts. She is a paragon of CDFI leadership, whose firm commitment to communities and ability to come up with innovative, scalable products have made an enormous impact, not only in her home state of New Hampshire, but in the nation. Julie is one of the founders of the National Opportunity Finance movement. She has played an important role in this movement since 1984, when she became founding executive director of one of the country's first CDFIs, the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. She also helped found OFN back when it was a whole set of different initials, including NACDLF, I think, and served on its board at a very pivotal time for its organizational growth. As an entrepreneurial thinker and market innovator, Julie is driven by a deeply rooted belief that underprivileged people, family, and their communities should have access to the same opportunities as their more fortunate neighbors. What makes her work so successful is her unparalleled ability to create new opportunities for disadvantaged people in ways that build wealth, strengthen opportunities, and create positive change. Julie's ability to do this has resulted in a constant stream of great ideas, high-impact products, and programs over the years, all of them designed to respond to the particular needs of people in New Hampshire's most distressed communities. Under Julie's energetic leadership, her organization has become a model of a classic place-based CDFI, and it's grown substantially over the years. Now it's topping out at over $80 million in total assets. Throughout her tenure as CEO, Julie has continued to focus on understanding and creatively addressing the needs of the people with severe economic challenges in New Hampshire. As one of her colleagues told me, Julie is all about mission, mission, mission. Every decision she makes and all of her instincts are about serving the people that we are trying to help. This strategic clarity and consistent vision has resulted in a flood of creative new ideas coming from New Hampshire. The rest of us have just come to expect them from Julie and her superb staff. The fund's strategy to create resident-owned manufactured housing communities is perhaps the best-known example of Julie's ability to design programs that meet local needs and achieve scale, the CDFI field's elusive holy grail. Julie and her team created resident-owned co-ops and developed the first-ever CDFI fixed-rate mortgage product, turning a losing proposition into a life-changing opportunity for people for whom homeownership would otherwise never have been possible. There are now 102 resident-owned communities in New Hampshire. That's about 20% of the manufactured housing parks in the entire state, and thousands of new homeowners who, for the first time, are able to enjoy the true benefits of homeownership. In 2008, the fund spun off a separate nonprofit social venture called Rock USA to spread its transformational park conversion strategy nationwide. In 2009, that earned the fund the Next Award. Along with this achievement and equally inventive microenterprise and asset building programs, we're also here to honor Julie's stellar reputation among her fellow CDFI practitioners. She is a universally respected, much admired, and well-liked peer. Julie has inspired me and her fellow CDFI practitioners to work, to think, and to dream big dreams, always starting from the heart of our shared mission. She has always made herself available to other colleagues and brings unusual wisdom and humility to the process. As her longtime co-worker and running buddy Al Cantor said, Julie invariably deflects all praise onto her staff and onto our borrowers and partners. It's never about the glory of Julie. It's about getting the work done and helping people. As some of us know, it is a singular pleasure to interact with Julie, whether you're just sitting in a meeting with her or hearing her on a panel. The first thing you notice is her unassuming, friendly, and genuine manner. She certainly has charisma, as most CDFI leaders do, but it's the quiet variety. People just feel comfortable around her right away. Soon after that, you notice her quick wit, her incisive intelligence, and ability to cut right to the heart of the matter. And then, as you keep listening, you begin to realize just how generously Julie shares her experience, her enthusiasm, her encouragement. Best of all, she does this in the most down-to-earth, respectful, kind, and modest way possible. She does it because she truly cares about our shared mission, and because she truly believes that working together, we can broaden the impact and success of the whole industry. The depth and tenure of Julie Eades' work in New Hampshire is an exemplar to all of us who work in the field, whether they're veterans like me or younger people just discovering CDFIs as a possible profession. As OFN board member Alan Branson commented, Julie is an example of what is possible and attainable by many in the industry if we stay the course, maintain the commitment, keep the faith. Julie's work gives me the hope that my region can be better if we keep at it, keep pushing the flywheel, taking another step forward every day. Of course, Julie's accomplishments have not gone unnoticed, as evidenced by the literally dozens of awards and honorary degrees she has received. However, I know Julie well enough to know that while she appreciates the recognition, she remains much more interested in the good that she and her team can accomplish going forward. Nearly 30 years after helping to start a movement and building a model CDFI, Julie remains as thoughtful, as creative, as intellectually vibrant, and as committed as she has always been. Julie has made a profound difference in the lives of people that CDFIs exist to serve, and she's still making a difference every day. On behalf of all of us, your fellow practitioners, Julie, I want to say thank you. Thank you for setting the standard of excellence for our entire profession, and thank you for so generously helping us learn how to meet it. You are, without a doubt, the best of who we are and what we are. I'm delighted to introduce the recipient of the 2012 Ned Gramlich Award for Responsible Finance, Juliana Eades.
Told me not to be nervous, but how can you not be nervous after that? Thank you, Mary. It was a very pleasant surprise to get a call from Mark about 3 weeks ago, but after the shock wore off, all I could feel was pressure about what I was supposed to say today, as if, you're supposed to be really wise after all this time. But I don't know about you, but I feel like we're still just making this up and trying to figure out how to do it. And the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund feels really young to me, and our industry feels really young to me. So it's a little bit hard. I'm glad they took that Lifetime Achievement Award thing out of it, because that was really a lot of pressure. Although, it prompts me, though, to tell you do the embarrassing part of this speech right at the beginning. There's something about losing 100 pounds in a year and then getting a Lifetime Achievement Award that has prompted many of my kind friends in the audience to worry about me and inquire with my fellow members in New Hampshire whether I'm okay. So I want you to know I am okay. My brother would have said, I'm well, now give him hell. But that's my little bit of Texas in me. So I want to start by appreciating my friends and member of the New Hampshire staff and board. Nadine Sally's been Director of Lending for 13 years. Rick Menard, Policy. John Hamilton, Business Lending. Steve Varnum, Communications. Carrie French, she and I are the executive team, and I get credit for everything she does. And our 2 board members, Sarah Varela and Michael Swack from the Carsey Institute at the University of New Hampshire. You're the best. I also want to be clear about this. It takes a village to raise a CDFI CEO. And the number one person in that village has always been Michael Swack, the guy who raised me up. And he founded the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, and he also was on that founding board of this industry association, this movement, this association. There's no one better to strategize with than Michael. He's got that academic eye, that asks the big questions and maintains objectivity while I'm just completely buried in the problems and the dilemmas. But he's also enough of a practitioner that he can help you create bold tactics that are really practical too. So, we could be giving him the award today, but since we're not, I'm going to thank you, Michael, and I'm going to, thank you for all that you've done for the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, for this industry, and for me personally. Along with Michael, my lineage starts with Chuck Mathai, who died 10 years ago. He led the creation of this national association, a year after helping Michael create the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund in 1983. And then Michael hired me to make this idea operational. But I want to really be clear, it was Sister Louise Foisey that taught me the nuts and bolts of this trade. The Sisters of Mercy were our first lenders and the first lenders to many other loan funds. Their tough and principled approach demands high social impact and reliable repayment. They set the original tone for this industry, and it serves us well today. I also don't want to get too nostalgic about the early days. Louise was very unimpressed with my MBA, and she was skeptical about me in general. Michael was glad to hire me, but most people don't know I was the only applicant for that part-time job. He says there were 2, but I was the only one that could take the part-time part of the job. I was really lucky to get a job that had the purpose that would let me channel my considerable anger about how the economic system works for people. Who knows where I would have been otherwise, I don't even want to think about it. I first learned about injustice as the younger sister of 2 brothers that I liked very much, and I followed them around everywhere. I'm sure I was a complete nuisance. But I have to say I was a proto-feminist by the 4th grade, and all my protests just got me in more and more trouble as I got older. There was no Little League for girls, and I couldn't be an acolyte in the church. But the final straw was, as an 8th grader in New Jersey, I expected to take over my brother's newspaper route, as he had taken it over from our oldest brother when he went away to college. But in the 60s, you had to be 14 years old and a boy to be a paper boy. But my parents, they let me take it over anyway, and we left the business in my brother's name, and the company didn't know the difference for quite a while. But by the time I did that, I was too busy with sports and school clubs to actually deliver the papers in the afternoon. So I hired other girls and younger boys to deliver the paper. But I did all the collecting by mail because it's handling the money that gets little kids in trouble. But a year in, every paper boy in town had come and given me their route because I would do the collecting for them, which they hated, and they'd get the same amount of money because I got a volume discount on the papers. So that was my beginning as a funky capitalist, and I learned a lot. The first thing I learned was it was really fun to have my own earned money, and to be independent, and to pay for whatever I wanted, and to save for whatever I wanted in the future. Now I realize this is a universal desire of all adults, to be self-supporting and independent, and have the security they know that they can meet their own needs. And I think that desire is the basis for our high repayment rate in this industry. Secondly, in the ups and downs of that business, there was management changes, corporate mergers, labor strikes, and technology upgrades. But I think my life-changing lesson was to observe that the arc of capitalism definitely bends toward injustice. at the risk of paraphrasing Mark, who's paraphrasing somebody else. So I left for college wondering if, isn't there a way that the economy could work better for everyone? And then, many years later, I'm lucky to have a job where we get to try to tweak capitalism so it's just a little bit fairer. It seems like our specialty as OFN practitioners is to see people and see their economic strength, whereas the bigger system doesn't see them at all or only sees weakness. And we all do this in a lot of different ways. And I was glad to notice that my calls for action today are completely compatible with Mark's calls. So first, as Mary said, there are 9 million homeowners out there who live in manufactured homes, and a third of them live in about 50,000 parks all across the country. And most of these homeowners have to pay cash for their home, or they have to use financing that was designed for cars. Manufactured housing is a larger stock of affordable housing than all the low-income housing tax credit, rent voucher, and public housing combined. And the average household income is less than $30,000, which is about 60% of the area median income. So this is an important unsubsidized affordable housing stock that is well worth our efforts to preserve and improve. In New Hampshire, we finally passed the first 100 mark. And if you want to hear the real story, Steve has put together this great little history of the first 100 in New Hampshire. And I don't want to take them back to New Hampshire, so there's a whole stack of them out there that you would be welcome to look at and enjoy. We try to keep with the People magazine theory of publications, and so you can read it in several short sittings if you want to. These 103 parks, we've got one more since you heard about it, are 6,000 homeowners that now really, they control 20% of the market in New Hampshire. And you can tell that that's starting to mean something because when you see the advertisements in the paper for a home for sale, the realtors are prominently putting in there that they're in a co-op. So obviously that has value for the buyer, and those homes sell much quicker. But the big thing is the families and elders that are in those homes now that are in resident-owned communities. They're secure in their locations, they're building community and improving their quality of life, they're doing public health and environmental safety improvements, and their housing costs are increasingly affordable. We've made about $70,000 in loans, leveraging 2 or 3 times that much, and we haven't lost any money in that loan product. The conditions that make these cash cows for investors are also what make them an excellent credit risk. So I recommend it to you. Once the land is secure, then we were able to make $25 million of single-family homes. Our innovation is just plain vanilla mortgages on these homes, 600 of them over 10 years with a repayment rate of 99%. The availability of these real mortgages on homes on secure, cooperatively owned land means these homes appreciate as a family asset. We developed this mortgage product for people in cooperatives, so they would have the same deal, the same good terms that homeowners have on their own land. But as we looked into it, turns out manufactured housing in its own land doesn't get a very good deal either. So we just have launched a new product to serve that market. But for all the success of these cooperatives and homeowners, the cold hand of capitalism isn't applauding. Every single one of these deals is as tough as the last one, because this industry is making a lot of money lending on these homes as if they were cars, even though their customers have an avoidable, unnecessary depreciation as a result. So I recommend it to you. And I hope that you will join with Rock USA to engage in this market that's been neglected and disparaged. Rock USA is now active in 22 states and has helped convert 26 communities in 11 states outside of New Hampshire. And that's opening up an opportunity for you to participate with them, as well as to follow behind those conversions and use your single-family lending products in those cooperatives. Next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give a little shout out to all the other small market CDFIs. We may not go to scale broadly across the country, but we have the knowledge of the micro markets to really go to scale deeply in those places we operate. Rock USA is going to take this resident-owned strategy nationally, and we're going to keep digging down in New Hampshire, adding things to the strategy. For example, we're lending for people to replace their pre-HUD code homes with energy-efficient new ones. And there's lots of other lending opportunities that come up once they control their environments. When Chuck Mathai and Michael were orienting me to what a community loan fund was, they explained we needed to do two things. The first one's the obvious purpose, how to find opportunities for excluded people to participate more in the economy because they have access to capital. But Chuck emphasized the second thing, which is that we have to talk to people with capital. And he was really good at talking. He was good at talking, and he was good at talking to people with capital. I already tried to give this award to Michael tonight, and I would give it away to Chuck, too, if he were here, but he's not, so I won't do that either. The second purpose about talking to capital is based on the belief that there's plenty of capital out there that's owned or managed by people who would put it to use for basic human needs if they only had a way to do that. And I think the genius of our industry is that we're able to take investment capital and put it to charitable purposes and then repay it to lenders once they need it back or we're done with it. Because the thing to think about, though, is it's individuals that own by far most of the capital in the United States. For example, there's $4 trillion in IRA accounts, individual retirement accounts, with most of it invested in money market funds. So individuals are choosing low rates and to leave it in one place for a really long time. Doesn't that sound like our kind of money? So IRAs, that would be a good thing to do. Of the $60 million of payables that we have in New Hampshire, 20% of it comes from individuals. That's $12 million from 370 investors who've loaned us mostly about $5,000 to $20,000 for about 4 years. And they renew 90% of the time, and they never ask us for reports, and they don't change their covenants from year to year. They don't have covenants. They have both high and low net worth, and a few of those investments are coming from self-directed IRAs. Some investors are actually preschoolers who have their college funds with us. My daughter's college savings were invested in the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund for over 10 years with the repayment timed to pay off her sophomore year's tuition. So another source of long-term money, which we all need. But even in New Hampshire, we really haven't scratched the surface of our potential with individual investors, or individual donors either, for that matter. I think the place to start, and that Chuck would have us start talking to people about capital, is talk to ourselves. If we, who know more about this than anybody else, don't have some of our personal money invested in our communities and in CDFIs, then how can we talk authentically to others about doing it? And if you're feeling tentative, there's a handful of funds that accept individual investors. There's Calvert Notes, and you can always lend in New Hampshire. We'll test you out and put it to work. Depending on which state you live in, we could use your money. And we haven't lost anyone's money yet, but as you know, that's possible. And future performance is past performance is no indication of future performance. And you got to get used to that line if you're going to ask individuals for investments. But I better stop now because I've now reduced myself to soliciting you all. Almost. But I hope you remember two things. One is that in our services to invisible people, I hope you'll include homeowners in resident-owned manufactured housing communities. And secondly, we have a huge investment potential with individuals like you and me. And now I want to thank the board of OFN for this honor. I'm proud to represent everyone who's helped make our body of work that is the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund worthy of recognition. And also, the good company of previous award winners, I know Corinne is here, inspires me to continue our endeavors with my good colleagues at New Hampshire, with Rock USA, and with the CDFI industry, because I feel like we're all still growing up together. And I promise to keep doing my part to help bend that arc of capitalism just a little bit more towards justice. Thank you.